Hey, Kyle's Wonderful here again with another wrestling review. This time it's WWE Smackdown from August 26, 2022, from my hometown of Detroit, Michigan. And holy crap, had I had known that WWE was going to have two Smackdowns back tonight in my hometown, I might have gotten tickets. So I won't be talking about any spoilers tonight. Just know that there is two Smackdowns being recorded tonight. It would have been impossible to do a live Smackdown next Friday because Clash at the Castle is in the UK just like 16, 17, 18 hours after SmackDown ends. So that's why that they had to record two SmackDowns tonight. So we'll be talking about this week's SmackDown from August 26th. And if you remember from last week's review, I was talking about how Gigi Dolan from Toxic Attraction took a really rough looking DDT on the apron. Well, unfortunately, that gave Gigi Dolan a concussion, and that took Toxic Attraction out of the women's tag team tournament. So to find the replacement, all four of the teams that lost in the first round will have a four-way tag team match tonight. It'll be the teams of Dana, Brooke, and Tamina, Nikki, ASH, and Doudrop, Natalya and Sonya Deville, and Shotzi and Xia Li. So they all have a second chance to get to the semifinals, which is also tonight against Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah. So one of those five teams get out of tonight alive, they'll only have 3 days to prepare for the finals on Raw against Io Sky and Dakota Kai. Also, last week, we saw Ronda Rousey got arrested after demanding that her suspension be lifted so that she could fight again. Adam Pearce came out and said he had no power to do that, so Ronda beat up the security guards and got arrested. Eventually, Adam Pearce dropped all charges and Ronda is out of jail. And I wonder if we'll hear the status of Ronda's suspension tonight. But no, we're told we'll have to wait for next week to find that out, as a lot of things are like either going to happen tonight or next week on SmackDown, because they're taping two SmackDowns in a row here in my hometown of Detroit. Like I said, had I known that, I might have got tickets. Two SmackDowns in one night, that would have been pretty cool. But like basically everything's kind of split. One half's going to be on this week, one half's on the other week, and that way they can get to the UK in time for next Saturday's. That's why they couldn't do a live Friday SmackDown next week. Anyway, meanwhile, Liv Morgan's only 8 days away from defending her SmackDown title at Clash of the Castle against Shayna Baszler, who punked out Liv Morgan badly last week, showing that Shayna could and will hurt her badly. Anyway, we also saw the Viking Raiders burned a bunch of the New Day merchandise, and they had a shaman with them as well. So it might have been former Riot Squad member Sarah Logan. So that's something to keep an eye on. We last saw Sarah Logan at the Royal Rumble, and she's also best friends with Liv Morgan, and she's married to Eric from the Viking Raiders, which would make sense for her to join them. Anyway, it was announced a few hours before SmackDown that Xavier Woods will return tonight and see if he can help Kofi Kingston out with their battle against the Viking Raiders. One of the segments of the year happened last week on SmackDown, where Roman Reigns was acting as if Sami Zayn was his best friend in the world. Well, let's see what's here. Fights. Oh yeah, no, there should be an all wrestling's league. I would get rid of all women's wrestling from WWE and AEW, have them all go to one league and have their own show. That's exactly what I would do. I'm such a big fan of women's wrestling, but I can't stand how they're always second rate, especially in AEW. AEW does a lot of things right, but the way they handle their women's division is terrible. I hate when it's just such a rushed match where I watch all the matches on the women's division on Dark and Elevation. You can find all my Dark and Elevation reviews. I review those shows thoroughly, and I know that there's enough women to have a show just for AEW, for example. So potentially, if like WWE and AEW want to keep their women's division, then yeah, they could have like a fourth brand or an all AEW women's division. But ultimately, I would like to see like an all-star league. You know what I mean, where it's all in one. So anyway, one of the best segments of the year happened in last week's SmackDown, where Roman Reigns was acting as if Sami Zayn was his best friend in the world. And if you didn't see that backstage segment, go check that out. It was the funniest thing ever. Roman was befriending Sami for a few reasons. One was to send a message to Kevin Owens to watch his mouth, and the other was because Roman was all alone no bloodline to help him last week. And Roman wanted help because he had a face-to-face with his opponent at Clash of the Castle for the WWE and Universal titles, Drew McIntyre. So Sami Zayn ended up saving Roman, but Roman got greedy, and then his spear was countered by a Claymore kick. So Drew McIntyre did stand tall at the last week's SmackDown. But in the shadows lurking is Karrion Kross, who returned a few weeks ago. He's been watching Drew McIntyre closely and mentioned how Drew was the chosen one, not once, but twice. And he was eventually replaced the second time by by Roman Reigns. So it'll be interesting to see what happens between all these layered stories, but with the title on the line between Drew and Roman. You've got Karrion Kross watching over both of them. Sami Zayn is here watching as well, but mad at Jey Uso. So Jey Uso and Sami have some beef within the bloodline. Meanwhile, the Usos are just kind of sitting around available to help. They don't have a current challenger for the unified tag titles, as the Usos defended twice in a week span a few weeks ago, allowing them this little bit of rest. So the Usos and Sami Zayn are around to help Roman during these weeks. And it was announced just a few hours before SmackDown that Sami Zayn will take on Drew McIntyre. That will be tonight's main event. So with so many people watching the main event closely, there's almost no way this match is going to end without chaos. Also, last week, or in the last couple of weeks, we've seen Hit Row. How do I feel about Glow? From what I've seen about Glow so far, it hasn't piqued my interest per se. I would like to see them get bigger. Yeah, we do need some kind of big wrestling. Once they get bigger, then they could get some of the better people, some of the better wrestlers. They've been all right. It's a little bit too gimmicky, kind of like what Jim Cornette would say, making fun of the business with some of their characters and stuff on there. But anyway, getting back to this week's SmackDown, we also seen Hit Row return recently, and they were interrupted by Maximum Male they interrupted Maximum Male Models. So you'd have to imagine Max Dupree is going to have a response to them soon. The only other match announced before SmackDown started was Ricochet against Happy Corbin. We've seen Ricochet beat Corbin at the beginning of the month. Then they started their beef again last week when they were both in that fantastic 5-way match with the number one contendership for the Intercontinental title on the line. So Ricochet will take on Corbin again tonight, and that should be a decent match, I guess. Anytime Ricochet's in the ring, that's a good thing. So also at Clash of the Castle, the winner of that amazing 5-way match, Sheamus, he'll take on Gunther for the IC title at the pay-per-view in 8 days. So it's sure to be one of the hardest hitting matches of the year between two Europeans in the first European pay-per-view in 30 years. So that's going to be a great one. And maybe we'll get some kind of clash between the Brawling Brutes and Gunther and his associate Ludwig Kaiser tonight. So let's get into this week's SmackDown, and it starts with Ricochet making his great entrance, and what a way to start a show. So hopefully Ricochet can quickly just get past Happy Corbin here and move on to bigger and better things. Happy Corbin now comes out, big boos from the crowd, and Ricochet, we have a little picture-in-picture interview here where Ricochet says that, Happy Corbin says Ricochet has all the tools, but he doesn't have the staying power. He's one step forward, two steps back. There's no way I can lose to that punk twice. So then right as the match starts here, Ricochet hits a T. Harris that sends Corbin right out of the ring. Ricochet then hits a drop kick, then a standing shooting star press already in this match, getting a 2 count. Corbin's able to counter a springboard move, and by punching Ricochet right in the face in midair, Corbin now hits a few strikes. Ricochet then flips twice and gets Corbin out of the ring. Ricochet then gets thrown into the corner, but is able to land and spring off the ropes with a Phoenix splash, sending Corbin on a standing Corbin. That was incredible. What a way to start SmackDown here. Ricochet then gets on the announce table and pumps up the crowd as we go to a commercial break. When we come back now, Ricochet's hitting strikes in the ring. Corbin tries to do his slide in and slide out lariat, but Ricochet's able to counter it with a drop kick. Corbin's able to then catch Ricochet and slam him hard into the announce table, but it didn't break and it looked painful. Corbin then throws him into the barricade, then back in the ring as the Detroit crowd now chants, "You still suck," which is always a funny chant. Then Ricochet gets slammed face first in the turnbuckle, and that looked really nasty. Ricochet then hits some weak body punches. He's been dazed. Corbin counters with a handspring attack into a big lariat. So right after that, Corbin throws him into the ring post as well. Corbin wastes a little bit of time here. That allows Ricochet to counter the end of days attempt with a nice DDT. Ricochet then hits a better striking combo now, getting some more feeling and back into him. And then he flips off of Corbin, hitting a big kick. Corbin then evades a springboard attack and hits deep six. But of course, Ricochet is able to kick out of this. Everyone kicks out of deep six. They got to have Corbin win a match with a deep six one of these days, even if it's against a jobber, just to, like, I don't know. Why have a move that looks good and then everyone's like, oh, is he gonna kick out? Of course he's gonna kick out, man. They always do. Just like Matt Hardy's side effect. They're always like, Matt Hardy with the side effect. Is he gonna kick out? Well, of course he does. Everyone always kicks out of the side effect. Anyway, Ricochet is able to kick out of this, and then that was just the setup for the end of days. And if that's hit, it's over. And this match has not been too bad so far. So just like I said before the match started, anytime Ricochet's in there, you know it's going to be a good one. Anyway, Corbin then makes a mistake of setting Ricochet up on the ropes. Ricochet then counters, knocks Corbin down, but Corbin is able to evade the diving attack and slam Ricochet down. Really good match from Corbin. Really hope Corbin can keep his form, like good match form, going forward after his feud with Ricochet, because like I said, I could probably have a good match with Ricochet. So Corbin then blocks the recoil attempt, but Ricochet hits a few big kicks, goes up to the top rope, and hits a great looking shooting star press for the 1-2-3. The winner of this match, Ricochet. So I thought Corbin might have kicked out of that, but it makes sense. The height of that shooting star press was about 10 feet in the air. That was ridiculous. Nobody's kicking out of that. Then Pat McAfee makes fun of my Detroit city. So screw Pat McAfee. You're only funny about 10% of the time. You hit one of your out of your 10 jokes is funny. So screw you, Pat. He talks forever here. And then we see the Street Profits in the back. I didn't really have much more to say about the Corbin Ricochet match. Like, hopefully it's just Ricochet can move on and something else now. Hit Row, like I said, is in the back. And they see, oh wait, no, I said Street Profits are there. Then Hit Row walks up and B-Fab says, we hear you want the smoke. And then you think that they're maybe talking about they want to fight or have a match, but no, they just want to they all laugh, and the five of them leave to go smoke a blunt. So I wonder if we'll see them again tonight or if they're just going to smoke the entire show. That was pretty funny though. So anyway, before we go to the ad break, we're told that we'll see the Drew McIntyre journey home, which should be fine. I mean, I watched Drew's entire career, including all his TNA stuff, so they're not going to tell me anything I don't already know. So I was a little. It sounded boring, but it's important for people that don't know Drew McIntyre's story. So when we come back from the break, we get the first part of that video, and Drew McIntyre says, it's great to be from the UK. There was a long line of important people, but nobody from Scotland has ever signed with WWE. People said it was impossible, but I'm living proof that dreams can happen. I'd been on top in Scotland, England, and Wales. Then I came to America and quickly won the FCW title, and I was on SmackDown before you knew it. I was young and cocky. I thought I was going to win multiple world championships, but it didn't work out that way. When things didn't go right, I was angry. And then around that time, my mother got sick. She passed away, and there was no saving me personally. Eventually, I got fired from WWE. I came to America clueless, just a boy, and I knew I would return one day as a man. So then it said to be continued. We'll pick that story back up later tonight. But it is good to remind people of Drew McIntyre's story. If they weren't there for all of it, it is a good redemption story. So he definitely might be able to win the title from Roman. It will definitely be a tough task, but he could do it. We'll get back to that later on in the show. But now the screen turns to black and white as Karrion Kross and Scarlett are up in the rafters of the arena. So Karrion Kross has a microphone and says, wow, what a beautiful story of redemption. Who knows? Maybe it is your time, but maybe not. Take this moment in, Drew, because at any given moment, I could pump an arm right through your head. Tick tock. And then the segment ends. So that was a decent promo. I loved the black and white setting with his music playing in the background. And they were like up in the rafters like Sting. So at the end of the day, maybe Drew McIntyre has no chance of beating Roman because Karrion Kross will either get into his head or actually attack him before or during the match. So as good as Drew McIntyre's story is, maybe Karrion Kross is always going to be there to prevent him from winning this match. We'll have to wait and see. But don't forget, Karrion Kross and Scarlett also targeted the Bloodline as well, giving them the tick-tock. So we'll see where that one goes. And it is going to be time for the women's four-way tag team last chance to see who gets to fight in the semifinals later tonight. So Shotzi makes her entrance, and then Xia Li does as well. Good to see them both get an entrance here. So then we go to a commercial break. Next, it'll be that match with all of the losers of the first round from the title from the tournament. That spot opened up when Gigi Dolan smacked her head too hard on the apron on a DDT last week on SmackDown. So that eliminates Toxic Attraction from the semifinals due to injury. When we come back from the break and Natalya's music's playing and her and Sonya Deville walk out. And don't forget, the winner of this match has to have that semifinal later tonight against Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah. So everyone else had made their entrance during the commercial break, unfortunately. So the other teams in this match are Doudrop and Nikki ASH, both from Scotland, which would have been cool to have them in a big match in the UK. And then the fourth team is Tamina and Dana Brooke. So Tamina starts the match by super kicking Natalya right off the apron. They're former tag team partners. So Nikki ASH and Xia Li are in the match, and this is not elimination style. So everyone's going to be looking to break up the pin or submissions. Plus, you're going to want to be in the match, not hiding away, because you can only win if you're in the match. Only 2 people in at a time, 6 people watching on the apron as the other 2 are in. So Shotzi now tags in. Shotzi and Xia Li hit a double team on Nikki ASH. Then Dana tags in. She knocks Doudrop off the apron. Nikki then slams Dana. Sonya breaks up the pin. Doudrop crossbody Sonya. Xia Li hits a big kick to Doudrop. Then Xia and Shotzi hit a double team on Doudrop as well. Natty comes in hitting a discus clothesline on somebody. Too much was happening. Then Dana gets Natalya out of the ring. Sonya goes up to the top rope, but Nikki stops her up there. Or Dana was up on the top rope, but Nikki ASH is up there with her. Both are in the corner. So Sonya Deville's able to get a blind tag while all this is happening. Then, holy crap, Nikki ASH gets superplexed by Dana Brooke into a pile of 6 women. As soon as that happens, Sonya rolls Nikki into the ring and gets the 1, 2, 3. Wow, couldn't believe it. The winner of this match, Sonya Deville and Natalya. So that was super fast, but it was fun. That suplex was absolutely wild. It was chaos with all 8 women just in a big pile, and then a quick ending after that. That was pretty cool. So I like that superplex into a pile of 6 women, and then a big pile of 8 women turning into 5 seconds later, the match is over with. I kind of like that. If we're going to have a short match, that's exactly how you do it. And don't forget, at the end of the day, this match was not planned. They had to add this match after they probably already had SmackDown planned because Toxic Attraction got injured. So that means Natalya and Sonya Deville also won't be too tired for their match later on. It'll be a semifinals against Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah, and that match will take later. So we'll talk about that more when we get there. Whew. But that match was really fun. It was all kinds of stuff happened at once. I need a drink after that one. So now we see a recap from last week, and it was that great 5-way match where Sheamus ended up winning to become the #1 contender to Gunther's Intercontinental Championship. So that match will be at Clash of the Castle in 8 days, and it's definitely going to be amazing. One of the hardest hitting matches of the year for sure. Can't wait for that one. So the Brawling Brutes now come out. That's Sheamus, Butch, and Ridge Holland, and they're looking fired up, looking ready to go home next week. So I would definitely love to see the Usos take on Ridge Holland and Butch in a tag title match with Butch and Ridge both being from the UK as well. That would be great fun. So anyway, the Brawling Brutes get in the ring, and we're not told what's going to happen, but I'm guessing it'll be Sheamus on the microphone when we get back, which, yes, it will be. But anyway, when SmackDown returns, stupid Pat makes fun of Detroit again. Screw you, Pat. Go Detroit. So anyway, we see a highlight video of Shayna Baszler, and this is the only thing we get about Shayna and Liv tonight. Don't forget, I said earlier, they're taping 2 SmackDowns in a row tonight, so it was almost like a show. It was almost like one big 4-hour show. So half the stuff is going to be on this week, half the other stuff is going to be on next week's SmackDown. So I kind of like that. Like, I kind of not I wouldn't want them to record two SmackDowns in a row like that, but I do kind of like the idea of like, oh, like you could be on every other SmackDown, and then on the other SmackDowns we'll have these guys, almost like a mini brand split within a brand split. Which sounds ridiculous and stupid, I know, but if you think of it as, then you never are going to get tired of people when you only see them maybe 2 or 3 times a month. Anyway, we see a recap of oh wait, no, we already said that. So when we came back, like I said, Pat made fun of that. Then we're getting the Shayna Baszler, who's #1 contender to Liv Morgan SmackDown title. Shayna says that I'm here to show everyone what a real fight is like. So then we see that Shayna Baszler punked out Liv Morgan last week, and then that should be a good one. We'll probably get more about that next week. So now we go back to the ring. Of course, Sheamus has the microphone, and he says, next weekend, we'll be drinking pints and starting fights, and I'll become the new Intercontinental Champion to become the first ever Ultimate Grand Slam Champion. So let's pause right there. I don't know exactly what that means, but I do know Sheamus has had just about every freaking title other than the Intercontinental title. So that would be big news for Sheamus. He could list off his Wikipedia page just like The Miz does when he talks about all the titles he has. So I don't know if Sheamus is going to win, but maybe winning the Intercontinental title at some point for him to become the ultimate Grand Slam, whatever that entails. But I'm pretty sure he's had over 7, maybe 8 different titles. Like, you know how like it could have been the Raw tag title, SmackDown tag title, US champion, WWF. I don't think he's ever been Universal, but he's probably been World Heavyweight. So all different kinds of titles. Anyway, Sheamus continues after that saying, I'll beat Gunther so bad. And then Gunther and Ludwig interrupt him and they come out. So Ridge Holland has to hold Butch back from starting a brawl here. And Gunther gets right in the Sheamus's face as Ludwig then starts introducing Gunther. But Sheamus interrupts that. He doesn't want to hear that. And Sheamus says, I don't have a bleeding clue what you're saying. So shut up for a second. Then Sheamus says to Gunther, the truth is, my beef is with you, lad. You call yourself the ring general, but you're looking at the real ring general right here. I've faced and beaten the best in the world has to offer. People like Orton, Cena, Triple H. I've beaten them all. Nobody in this ring, in this business, has banger after banger. I see a lot of myself in you, and it's been years since I've seen that in someone. You're just like me. You love to go to war in this ring, but you have something I want, the Intercontinental Championship. So at Clash of the Castle, I will drag that title off of your lifeless body into the mouth of the Red Dragon. So Gunther then says, Sheamus, you're a man to be respected for sure, but you're nothing like me. To protect the title, I will teach you what violence really means. I will retain this title and chop your chest to bloody bits. And I will break the man that nobody thought could be broken. The ring general will break you. Then Butch has heard enough and he leaps and starts beating up Ludwig Kaiser. Ridge tries to break them up. They're fighting while Sheamus and Gunther haven't even flinched. They're staring each other down. Really cool image here. Ridge gets thrown to the side as Butch and Ludwig continue the fight. Basically, the daddies basically hold the sons back at one point. That was hilarious. They're like the mini me's. Anyway, Ridge is back now. So Gunther and Ludwig back down. They get out of the ring. 3-on-2 odds. They didn't want to fight here. So that was a really good segment. No matter who wins at Clash of the Castle, Gunther is going to be chopping Sheamus's chest in the bloody bits, just like he said. So that part was not a lie. No matter who wins, that's happening. And Sheamus's chest might be permanently red like his hair after that match. It's going to be ridiculous. So make sure you turn your TVs up to maximum volume during that match. It's going to be insane. So in the back now, Natalya and Sonya are getting interviewed, and Sonya says, this is Natalya, the boat, former champion. Come correct when you talk to us. Natalya says, Sonya is one of the hardest hitting women in this business. So Raquel and Aliyah, you'll find that out tonight. Sonya then tells the interviewer to go away, and then Bayley's music hits of all people. So here we go, the real star of the show. Bayley comes out. She's got the Bayley buddies with her, Io Sky and Dakota Kai, and Kai and Sky will take on the winners of this next match in the finals on Monday to crown the new women's tag team champions. So now we go to commercial break with the Bayley buddies getting in the ring. When we come back, we go to something completely else. So we get a recap of last week when Sami Zayn saved Roman Reigns from an attack from Drew McIntyre, but Roman got greedy, tried to attack Drew after that, and it led to Drew Claymore kicking his face off and standing tall. So now we see Sami Zayn. He's knocking on the Bloodline's door. I was wondering if Roman was actually going to be there. So Jimmy comes out. He's all happy to see Sami Zayn, but Jay's there as well. He's upset and moody. So the story has been that Jay does not like Sami. Jimmy seems to be fine with them, and Roman is definitely using Sami to get things out of him. So anyway, Sami wants to talk to Roman, but Jay says no. Roman's voice can be heard now, so Roman is there apparently, and Roman is here 2 weeks in a row. So who would have thought it? Sami then sits down next to Roman in the locker room. Sami Zayn says, "How's everything been going?" Roman says, "Good. How about you?" Sami talks about how he was lost last night, but Roman says, "Well, you lost, but sometimes bad things happen to good people. And I was alone last week. I needed someone to help me out, and I appreciate what you did last week. That's something family would do." So Sami Zayn says, "Well, I'm happy. You can count me in, bro." And Roman says, "Well, that's good, but I need another favor. I need Drew to be occupied. Get him off his game for me." Sami says, "Oh, I'm great at that. I'm great at manipulating people. By the time he's in Cardiff, he'll be a broken man." And Roman says, "Well, tonight's about you." Sami says, "Thanks for the opportunity." And Roman says, "Oh, yeah, you got the opportunity of the main event tonight, man." Jimmy then shakes his hand, but Jay doesn't want anything to do with them. And Roman looks kind of annoyed as Sami leaves. So, Roman's just using him. He's not wanting to be friends with Sami Zayn, which I'm loving. This was nowhere near as good as last week's segment. Last week was an all-timer. That's one of those. We'll look back in 10 years and watch that Sami Zayn Roman talking in the backstage last week. This one sucked compared to that. This could have been 15 seconds long. All they needed to say was, Sami, I need you to take out Drew tonight or whatever, And then, all right, yeah. So anyway, now we go back. Bayley's been out there this whole freaking time. I don't know how long it's been, but she's going to be on commentary for this match. She's got Io Sky and Dakota Kai standing next to her. So again, this is going to be a semifinals match in the women's tag team tournament. Raquel Rodriguez's music now plays, and she comes out with Aliyah. So for the semifinal match, so they do make a pretty good team. Too bad they couldn't even match their colors though. They had weeks to plan this out. Anyway, Sonya Deville's music now hits as they came out the Natties earlier. So they knew they were gonna have two matches, I guess. So they each had their own music. So Sonya Deville and Natalya come out. They've only had a few matches together, but they've had more matches together than Raquel and Aliyah have. So neither of them really have had that much chemistry. And for that matter, Dakota Kai and Io Sky really haven't had much chemistry either. The people that have the most chemistry out of these are Raquel and Dakota Kai, who are former NXT champions, but they're not on the same team. Anyway, Natalya and Aliyah are going to start this match. Aliyah gets a head scissors right away, but Natalya nips right up to get out of that. That was cool. Then they both show some good agility, and Natalya rolls Aliyah up for a 2 count. When Aliyah was doing the mate Trish backbend is when she got rolled up. So right after that, Raquel's now able to tag in. She takes Natalya down. Sonya has to break up a pin already. I was like, that's weird. Then Sonya gets thrown out of the ring, and Aliyah dives right onto her with a Meteora off the apron. And then Natalya comes over and just simply hits a Michinoku driver on Aliyah onto the outside of the ring. That looked nasty, and Aliyah's now down hurt. Raquel comes over to check on her partner Aliyah as we go to a commercial break. So, man, that Meteora was nasty. As we come back now, Sonya's in control in the ring against Raquel Rodriguez. Natty tags in, but Raquel counters their double team, hitting a double suplex. That looked a little sketchy, but it's all right. Anyway, Sonya then kicks out at 2, so she must have tagged back in at a point, or then maybe she never even tagged out. But Natty helps Sonya take control from the apron because Aliyah is still down from that Michinoku driver from earlier. Sonya then hits some big strikes, as don't forget, Natalya was saying she's one of the hardest hitting women she's ever met. Don't forget that. So then Raquel then battles back with some forearms. Sonya then hits one big kick to take Raquel down for a 2 count. Sonya then grinds her forearm like as if she was Finley or William Regal. Love that. And then Sonya applies a chin lock after grinding her forearm on the face. Natty then runs in. Raquel's able to support the weight of both women and hit a nice slam. Well, it was another sketchy slam. Both of her big double team power spots were a little sketchy, but she is kind of experienced. Raquel is. She'll get those spots down within not too much longer. Anyway, Raquel fights off both women and hits corner attacks to both. And Raquel's ended up hitting a middle ropes corkscrew elbow for a 2 count. Then Natty is able to run in and save Sonya from a Tejano bomb. We still haven't seen Aliyah. Natty then tries for a sharpshooter, but gets kicked right out of the ring. Sonya then hits a big running knee strike for a 2 count. But after countering, Raquel's able to hit a Tejano bomb for the 1, 2, 3. Holy crap. The winners of this match are Raquel Rodriguez and Aliyah. So while they literally could not have done more to tell us that Aliyah is useless, so I wonder who's going to win that match on Raw for the titles. Is it going to be the team that has 2 people or the team that only has 1? So they clearly told us Raquel is a 1-woman team with Aliyah. It's a little strange to make Aliyah look that bad, but I guess we'll see what happens on Monday. It could be a swerve or whatever to make us think that Raquel and Aliyah have no chance. It would make more sense for Raquel and Aliyah to win the titles, in my opinion, just because then they could be on the pay-per-view. But I guess, I get really it makes more sense to be on Kai and Sky, but I would like to have those titles be on the pay-per-view, especially because the Raw title's not going to be on the pay-per-view. So you can at least have the tag titles and the SmackDown titles. And the tag titles might have been like, don't forget, we might get the return of Sasha Banks and Naomi on Raw right after they crown the new champions. So that might be something, but maybe then they'll wait. Maybe they'll wait for that because those guys, just really makes you think what the heck's going to happen, because Dakota Kai and Io Sky already have that 6-woman match at Clash at the Castle. So um when would they bring Natalya and Sasha Banks back? That's a good question. Oh, I missed your oh, I didn't have any super chats. I don't even know how to set that up, to be honest, but I'll have to look into it. All right, so yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do with that. So anyway, this was a weird first of quite a few different segments in the back now involving the Maximum Male models. They're now having a photo shoot here. Max Dupree yells at the photographers, and then we hear the Hit Row music playing, and then we see a party bus. So must be them smoking with the Street Profits. Hit Row and Street Profits left to go smoke earlier. So Max Dupree's mad about this, but his sister Maxine Dupree says she'll go check it out. She knows what to do. So I guess we'll have to come back on this earlier. I was hoping it was going to be what I thought it was going to be, but it wasn't. I'll tell you later what my idea would have been, which would have been way funnier. So before we go to a commercial break now, we're told that Xavier Woods is back and the New Day will be doing something next. So last week we saw the Viking Raiders burn New Day merchandise as a funeral for the New Day, but the New Day aren't dead yet. So hopefully this segment will be better than that one where they were talking about the butt beating tickets. That was a month ago. So this feud with the Viking Raiders has been going on for over a month now. The Viking Raiders absolutely destroyed New Day in the only match they had. Which I was hoping they kind of would just move on. They could always come back and avenge that later on. I would have had the Viking Raiders go right to the Usos, and probably lose that match. But if you're just gonna have them lose to the New Day again, anyway, maybe the Viking Raiders will beat them. We do find out that'll be a match next week. So now when we come back from the break, we check back in on the Maximum Male models. Maxine Dupree has brought of all people, she went and got Los Lotharios, who have spray paint. So the segment just quickly ends. It looks like they're going to spray paint Hit Row's bus. Can't wait for that. Not exactly where I thought they were going to go with that. I thought it was going to be something way more funny. We'll see if you guys like it. We'll talk about that when we get there, because we go back to the ring now, and the New Day are there, and Xavier Woods is in a wheelchair and all sad. So I wasn't buying this for a second, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Xavier Woods says, "This is difficult for us. We made fun of the Viking Raiders about how new and vicious they were," which that made me laugh. "But we underestimated them." Kofi Kingston says, "I had a 300-pound man go air Viking, cracking my ribs." Xavier says, "We have to face the harsh reality. Last week, we saw them burn bootios and unicorn horns. They burned our legacy. You could see it. It was done. And maybe the New Day is just that, done." Kofi says, "Well, we got the chance to do a lot of great things." And then before they could say anything else, the Viking Raiders come out and interrupt. So Eric says, "Well, this is pathetic. We gave you the proper send-offs." And then Ivar says, "Instead of leaving with honor, you're out here snifling or sniveling." And then Eric says, "One thing that a Viking despise is weakness. It makes us sick to see you in our ring groveling like a wounded animal." Ivar says the best thing to do with a wounded animal is to put them down. So the Viking Raiders get in the ring, and of course, who oh, to the shock of everyone, Xavier Woods pops out of the wheelchair. He's got 2 kendo sticks because he had a blanket over his lap. He throws one of them over to Kofi, who almost drops it, and it was kind of botched here. But the New Day light up the Viking Raiders with the kendo sticks and send them running away, which is stupid. Why didn't they just fight? It was just kendo sticks. Anyway, the New Day celebrate, and the segment just quickly ends. So that was kind of pointless because everyone knew that was a trap except for the Viking Raiders themselves, which at the end of the day just makes the Viking Raiders look stupid. I guess maybe Vikings aren't supposed to be smart. I guess you could get away with that. But at the end of the day, it wasn't entertaining either. It wasn't as cringe as the butt beating tickets from the last time. But like I said, I wish this feud had ended when the Viking Raiders destroyed them, and I wish the Viking Raiders would have went just right to the Usos after SummerSlam. But we'll see where that match goes next week. Anyway, when SmackDown returns now, we check back in with Maximum Male Models to see what the kind of hilarity and hijinks they're up to. Now Los Lotharios and Maximum Male Models have spray painted the bus. They've wrote Hit Row sucks on this bus. Now Hit Row shows up, they say that's not our bus, bro. And then the Street Profits walk out of the bus and they're mad. The segment just ends. That wasn't even remotely, not even a tiny bit funny whatsoever. What was the point of that? The thing I thought they were going to do is earlier we showed that Street Profits and Hit Row were about to go smoke some blunts. So then we hear the music. So I thought what we were going to get when Maxine, remember last week, Maxine Dupree was like dancing to the music when Hit Row did their performance after interrupting Maximum Models. So I figured the segment was going to be, oh, where the heck did Maxine go? And then they have to go investigate. And then she finds like a big like cloud of smoke or whatever, and Maxine's been partying, and then Max is all mad at his sister for partying with Hit Row and Street Profits. It doesn't have to be like sexualized in any way. It's just, oh, I was like drinking some shots and smoking the blunt, like that would have been funny. That, and not like hilariously funny, but that would have been something. What the heck was this? You went and got Los Lotharios so that you can spray paint a bus, and it wasn't their bus, it was the Street Profits. Oh, it's crazy. How wild and crazy hijinks. So that was terrible. Absolutely just the worst. So let's just move on. Anyway, Sami Zayn's about to come out for his match, but the Usos stop him. And Jimmy says, big opportunity for you tonight. And Jay says, well, remember that when you wear that shirt, you're leveled up and you lost last week. So don't lose this match. And Sami gets upset. He's like, you're always so angry at me, Jay. Like, this is exactly what I was talking about with Roman last week. Jay then yells at the top of his lungs and has to be held back by his brother Jimmy, and the segment ends. So for whatever reason, Jay doesn't want to play nice with Sami Zayn. I have no idea why. Clearly, Roman wants to manipulate Sami. So shouldn't Jay be doing what Roman wants? But clearly, Jay is not doing what Roman says. So shouldn't Roman be mad? Anyway, who knows? Isn't the whole story here supposed to be that Jay takes over? Isn't Jimmy slowly supposed to convince Jay that they're supposed to turn on Roman? Isn't that the whole long story of the bloodline? Like when Roman goes away, isn't Jay supposed to be main event Jay, where he takes over as like the guy, and then he can have Solo Sikoa, their younger brother, come up. He can form a tag team with Jay. They could be the Usos or whatever, and then you got main event Jay. I don't know if he would be the world champion, but you know what I mean. Like, did we just completely forget about that story? Are we waiting forever for it because this title reign never ended? Like, because that was the story, right? Because Jimmy never wanted to join the bloodline, but he did it out of respect to his brother Jay. And then remember, like, Jay's supposed to be the right hand man and all that, but he's just being used the same as Sami. Like, Roman's using the Usos no different than he's using Sami. So isn't the whole story that the Usos are supposed to turn on Roman at some point, and it's supposed to be main event Jay? How long are we gonna have to wait for that story? Is it going to be like when Roman leaves, so there isn't even like a legitimate? I guess that's what they could do. Roman could, like, once he loses the title, Roman leaves, Jay takes over as main event Jay. He adds Solo Sikoa to the bloodline, who might already be in the bloodline in the next couple of weeks, and then he's main event Jay, singles guy. Once Roman returns, Roman wants his spot back at the head of the table. That's when you get the Jay versus Roman match. not for any titles or whatever, for the head of the table, then maybe like Jimmy and Solo Sikoa might all go to Jay's side, or maybe Jimmy would be upset that he's not the main event guy and that he got stuck with the tag team with their younger brother. So you never know what kind of, it could be like a tag team, Roman and Jimmy against Jay. Like who knows where they're gonna go with that one. That's something to think about though. Hopefully that, because that was the story they were telling. Hopefully it doesn't just go away. So anyway, we get the second half of the Drew McIntyre story, his journey, if you will. So Drew McIntyre in this one says, "My dream was falling apart. I eventually got fired from WWE. I had come to America clueless, and I was going to return to WWE as a man. I took the time while outside the company to find myself, get my confidence up, and for the first time in my life, I could step up to be the leader that they wanted me to be. My life and my career has been full of twists and turns, but the destination has always been the same, that I wanted to be the face of the business that I love." And that brings me to Roman Reigns. He's a monster. He's on a run that we haven't seen in years, but I will take him down in the first UK show in 30 years. The journey that has led to this moment, and the man that I've become, in front of 70,000 Brits and in front of the world, my destiny will be fulfilled at Clash of the Castle in front of my people. Roman, you're coming to my island, and I'll kick your head off, lay you out, and get the 1, 2, 3. So a really good video here. It was awesome. Even though I knew the whole story, I've watched everything, including his run in TNA. And he is ready to take on the world. So he hasn't been like my favorite guy, especially some of the sword stuff is a little too goofy, but Drew McIntyre is a good guy and someone you can root for because of his story, from being the chosen one, young prodigy, to getting fired, to being so good that they called you back. Unfortunately for Drew, his entire title reign after beating Brock Lesnar happened during the pandemic era with no fans to celebrate in front of. So if Drew McIntyre is able to break the 800-day streak of title reign of Roman in front of Drew's home country, I wouldn't complain even a bit. Drew's definitely earned the moment if that happens. But if they decide they want Roman to keep the title for an even longer reign, for the absolute perfect guy in time, if this just isn't the right time for Drew McIntyre, I hope they have something down the line. Maybe in another year or two, they can have another UK pay-per-view where maybe Roman's not the champion anymore and Drew McIntyre can get one of the two big titles and a big title win in his hometown to make up for the fact that his original title reign had no fans. So I could see that probably is going to be what happened. I think the favorite to win at Clash of the Castle is definitely Roman, and I would hope that they have a backup plan for another UK pay-per-view in a year or two where Drew could win there, not against Roman, but win the title and have this big moment in front of his home crowd there. But like I said, I wouldn't be the shock of the century if Drew is the one that break the streak. I think it would probably be a mistake. You kind of want someone to be younger. I wouldn't necessarily have it be Theory with nefarious means with a briefcase. I mean, could it be KO? Because Roman was talking about KO, how he's like worried about KO. And I mean, I know a lot of people want to get to WrestleMania for the big Rock Roman match. We still don't know if that's going to happen, or I mean, that match could happen and not even be for the title. So it will be interesting to see what the heck's going to happen. It could all come crashing to an end. So next week will be the 2-year anniversary celebration of Roman Reigns winning the Universal title, and it could come to an end with Drew McIntyre, but it might go on for another year or at least to WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see, but it is pretty cool. So after Drew McIntyre makes his entrance for the main event here, and then we go to a commercial break. So when we come back, Sami Zayn makes his entrance and he's looking confident, unlike, you remember when they had Sami Zayn and Drew McIntyre had a little feud earlier in the year. Sami was basically running away scared the whole time, but now Sami has the confidence from being friends with Roman and Jimmy, and he's got confidence. But of course, when the bell rings, Sami runs away right away, but he's got a plan here. So Drew follows Sami out, so he rolls back in and he catches Drew with strikes as Drew's coming back in. However, one big punch from McIntyre just floors Sami to the ground and then gets thrown into the corner hard. Drew then chops Sami, but Sami's able to duck under a clothesline and get out of the ring. Sami runs away, kicks Drew when Drew comes into the ring again. Then Drew blocks a shot into the announce table and throws Sami face first in the table and spine first in the apron. And then this is where this is where Sami catches Drew for the second time as he's coming in the ring, attacking Drew's knee a couple times, and then Sami hits a big flurry of punches. So Sami uses the ropes to wear down Drew even further, and the crowd's booing. Unlike last week where Sami was in his hometown, they're booing him here. So Drew counters the next attack, hitting a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, and Sami can't withstand too many big shots in this match since he's so much smaller than the powerful Drew. Sami then gets caught on the top rope, but Sami rakes the eyes and is able to strike himself free, and Sami hits a sunset powerbomb off the top rope, or the middle one, however you want to define it, but that slams Drew down hard as we go to a commercial break. When we come back, Sami counters a charging Drew with a boot, and then Sami gets a tornado DDT. Only a 1 count, though. Drew McIntyre is like, nope, not today, son. So Sami then is looking a little bit tired already. Sami hits some strikes, but Drew blocks a Blue Thunder Bomb attempt, and then Drew hits a Glasgow Kiss headbutt, and that allows him a little bit time to recover. Drew then gets up, fires up, hits a couple massive lariats, and then an overhead suplex twice. Sami landed on his head on one of those. Looks pretty painful. Sami tries to fight back, but Drew counters into a neck breaker, and now the Usos run out because they knew that match was not going well. Sami's able to, on the distraction, Sami hits a Blue Thunder Bomb, getting a 2 count now, and the crowd's going absolutely wild, loving this match and hating the cheating. But, of course, every building in the world, there are a lot of Bloodline fans, so we do hear a few "Let's go Sami" chants in the crowd. Detroit's only right across the bridge from Canada, so all these Detroit shows have a lot of Canadian fans as well. So anyway, Drew's then able to hit a Claymore kick after all this silliness, getting the 1-2-3 kind of just abruptly. So the winner of this match by pinfall, Drew McIntyre. Really good match here. It ended all of a sudden though, which was definitely weird, but the match was good stuff. As soon as the match ends, however, Roman Reigns runs down. Of course, Drew's able to fight back for a little bit, but the Usos are here, don't forget, and it's 3-on-1 before you know it. Roman hits a spear. The Usos then hit Drew with chairs over and over and over. Big time chair shots, big time beatdown. Drew won the match, but he might lose the war, because this is not a good night for Drew McIntyre. He's taking a ton of damage 8 days before the big title match. Usos now beat Drew even more. They throw him into the barricade. Now Jimmy's holding Drew up for Sami to hit a haluva kick because Sami Zayn's back up, hitting a big haluva kick. Wow, so Drew McIntyre, what, he has no allies? What about the time Drew helped out the New Day? Thanks a lot, New Day. You gave me a kilt, but you're not going to help me out against the Bloodline? I guess that means every single person in the Bloodline in the locker room fears the Bloodline, and this is proof right here. You know Drew McIntyre has a lot of people that like him. Drew McIntyre is basically the locker room leader of SmackDown, and he's good friends with the New Day. None of them come out to help. Not just because it was a 4-on-1 beatdown, but because it's the person who runs the show, Roman Reigns. They're influential, they're scary. Nobody wants to get on their bad side, and that's shown here by the fact that nobody helps Drew McIntyre, who has helped pretty much everybody else along his way. And that is shade. Come on, I thought we were friends, New Day. So anyway, Roman Reigns with a pretty cool line. He doesn't get on the microphone or anything, but after the big beatdown here, the Usos roll Drew McIntyre to Roman Reigns' feet. Roman then, we can hear him over the camera say, "The top of the mountain is mine. You will never have it until I leave." And then Roman applies a guillotine, and if Drew McIntyre wasn't already out cold, he is now. Roman then places a chair across his neck, sits on it, and says, "This whole industry is mine. I want someone to take it from me," he says. I don't know if that was where the SmackDown ended, on him saying, "I want someone to take it from me." So I'm not sure if that's what Roman meant, but if you take that literal, it meant that Roman wants someone to take his spot so he can leave, go home, or go to Hollywood. But if you take what he also said, Drew McIntyre ain't that guy. So very interesting. They just beat the ever-living crap out of Drew McIntyre. Next week, we'll have the Roman Reigns 2-year anniversary celebration of him being the Universal Champion. So that'll be a very interesting segment where I'm sure well, will they have Drew show up? I would say keep Drew out of that, but I'm sure maybe Drew will show up at the end of it to ruin it, even though he's just been taken out hard. So wow, big stuff happening. We do found out everything that's going to happen on SmackDown, because don't forget they were taping SmackDown immediately after this. So like if you wanted to, you could probably go online. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to read spoilers, but in either now or in the next half hour, you can go online and read what happens on next week's SmackDown. So like I said, next week on SmackDown, we'll celebrate the 2-year mark of Roman Reigns' title reign. We'll also find out if Ronda Rousey is unsuspended or not, or if she's still suspended, maybe even further because of her actions last week when she got arrested. We'll also have the in-ring debut of Karrion Kross, which I don't know who he's going to fight, but it's probably going to be some jobber that gets absolutely destroyed. But another in-ring debut will happen next week, as finally, after months and months, Marseille and Mansois, the Maximum Male Models, will have a match, and they'll take on Top Dollar and Ashante D Adonis Hit Row. So that'll be a good match next week. Also, we'll see Butch versus Ludwig Kaiser. That match is going to be awesome. And we'll also, probably the main event of the night will be a Viking rules match, which I have no idea what that could possibly be. But hopefully it doesn't end like an Inferno match, like with the funeral pyre. But it will be, of course, the Viking Raiders against the New Day. And excuse me. That sounds like it'll be a pretty good SmackDown. So again, that'll be recorded tonight. It's basically being recorded right now. They might already be done, so you can find the spoilers if you want to. I'm not a guy that likes spoilers, so I'll be here for that next week. And then the reason they had to record it is because only 16 hours after SmackDown ends, it will be Clash at the Castle next weekend on Saturday. And because of the time differences, like if you're in America, that Clash at the Castle I think is at 1 p.m. Eastern time. So I will be here after that, of course. On Raw, we've got a couple of things to look forward to as well. Don't forget the big women's title tournament will finish, as well as probably maybe the return of Sasha Banks and Naomi. I'm not quite sure if that'll happen or not, but maybe. So good stuff overall. I mean, tonight it could have been a little bit better, but it could have been worse. That main event was really good. The Corbin match, hopefully that's the last time we have to see Ricochet against Corbin, but Ricochet in any match is really good. The 4-way women's match, yeah, it had to be short, but remember they probably already planned out these two SmackDowns already, and now all of a sudden they have to fit in a 4-way not even elimination, but a 4-way tag match. So that ending super quick, at least they made it really fun. So it was fun, even though it was quick. We don't like to see like too many quick matches like that, but it was fun. The other tournament match wasn't that great. It was so weird to have like them pretty much tell us that Aliyah sucks by having Aliyah do absolutely nothing in that match. I don't know why I don't get why you would ever want anybody to think one of your wrestlers on your roster sucks. Like, I don't get how, like, I guess it's a story. It's something. It's a story, but why? Like, where does Aliyah go from here? Is she ever going to be able to recover from that? Or is she just like, I know she's not the greatest in the ring, and she just had a chance on Raw, and she did all right. She didn't do great either, but um, she's still kind of young, still has time. Like, you don't need to bury her and show her like, oh, here's Aliyah, and she does nothing for her team. Anyway, the Karrion Kross stuff is very intriguing. I liked his little promo in the back. The Drew McIntyre journey stuff, very important for people that don't know his story. We got to see full entrances for Xia Li. That's an upgrade from what she was getting, right? So different things happen. The Sheamus talking segment, I guess that was important to show how important this match is. It is an important match. Sheamus and Gunther, two Europeans going for the Intercontinental title 30 years after the only other UK pay-per-view where the main event of that UK pay-per-view was for the Intercontinental title, British Bulldog winning the title from Bret Hart. So Sheamus against Gunther for the IC title at Clash the Castle is a very historically important match, and it's going to be an amazing match. It's going to be one of the hardest hitting matches all year, any company in the world. So this talking segment was pretty good, and it sets us up for a really good Butch versus Ludwig match next week. Am I missing anything? I mean, oh god, yeah, like I hated the bus stuff. It should have been Street Profits and Hit Row coercing Maxine Dupree to like smoke with them and have a couple shots, and then Max Dupree gets mad. Like the whole spray paint the wrong bus stuff was so stupid. And then the New Day thing was kind of stupid as well. Everyone knew that it was going to be fake, so why do the fake like act like New Day's retiring kind of deal, and making the Viking Raiders look dumb as well. But at the end of the day, it wasn't that exciting or entertaining. So those were both kind of a miss. So this was kind of a middle of the road, above average, not great episode of SmackDown. But some of the stuff was important for what do you call it, setting everything up for Clash of the Castle. And the other part is it could only have like half the roster. They're taping 2 SmackDowns back to back. So like the other half of this it's basically one big 4-hour show, and the other half of the 4-hour show will be next week. So we'll see what happens next week. Should be pretty good. If you guys want to stick around, I will be making a new video right after this talking about NXT Level Up. Otherwise, I'll talk to you guys again soon. I'll be here Monday, of course, for Raw, and I'll be here even later tonight covering AEW Rampage. So I also have a big weekend ahead of me. There's 2 big NWA pay-per-views Saturday and Sunday, so I'll be here all weekend covering all kinds of stuff. So thanks for tuning in. I'll look into that super chat, Tube City. Thanks for tuning in the whole time, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Peace.